Welcome into the Sports 2.0 show. I'm your host, Alec Busse. Happy to be joined by Akshay Kumbar. We've got Mitchell Martin, who's a happy man with what his Blue Jays are doing, and we've got some guy in the bottom right-hand corner who's not going by his real name. But anyway, guys, before we get into today's discussion, I want to remind all of our viewers that they need to subscribe to the Sports 2.0 network so they can stay up to date with all of the sports news that's going on. And guys, there's nothing more breaking right now than the MLB trade deadline. And I know the four of us are all huge baseball fans, and this is going to just be, I think, one of the greatest trade deadlines that I can remember. So before we get into any of the trades, we just want to kind of dive into what this trade deadline has been like for all of you guys and just keeping up with it all. Because for me, I've had MLB Network on literally, I think, since 8:30, 9 o'clock this morning, and it's been incredible to watch.
It really has been. This has been one of the best deadlines I know of my lifetime. Even as a Cardinal fan, I know we're not out there making huge splashes, but just as a baseball fan in general, I mean, this thing has been rocking. It's been exciting. I've been glued to the TV myself, glued to Twitter, trying to see what's going to happen. This has been great. It's been a lot of fun. The Cubs are out there just throwing players around everywhere. You've got number one prospects from the Blue Jays flying across the league. I mean, you really can't ask for much more out of an MLB trade deadline. You really can't.
Yeah, I've refreshed my Twitter like 500 times today. Like I've refreshed my Twitter so many times. I've never even been on Ken Rosenthal's Twitter account so many times. It's been awesome. I mean, it's kind of like football free agency all over again. It's just fun to watch. I'm glued to my screen all day.
Yeah, I've been refreshing Jeff Passan's Twitter for every 10 minutes or so just to see what kind of trades are going on. There's some huge ones even in the past 24 hours. Not even how much this morning as well. It's just been crazy thus far. I'm excited to see how this last 30 so minutes are playing out.
Yeah, it's been incredible, guys. I mean, I have the tweet notifications turned on for Jeff Passan and Ken Rosenthal, and like I said, having MLB Network on, it's just like bang, 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 bang. Like, what are you hearing? Like, what are you being told? And then breaking news. It's incredible to watch. And speaking of breaking news, within the last hour, we had, in my opinion, probably the second biggest deal happen, and that is Craig Kimbrell going to the Chicago White Sox from the Chicago Cubs. In return, the Cubs are receiving Nick Madrigal and a prospect, and of course, that's probably not the easiest thing for the Chicago White Sox to give up, and it's definitely not the easiest thing for their fans to give up. I've talked to a couple of my buddies who are White Sox fans, and they're sad to see Nick Madrigal go, because I think this is a really big move for the Chicago White Sox. You're looking at an organization who now has their 6th through 9th inning are pretty locked down. You've got Ryan Tepera in the 6th. You've got Michael Kopech in the 7th. You've got Craig Kimbrell and Liam Hendricks going in the 8th and 9th, in whichever way you decide to do that. And you've got 3 starters and Carlos Rodon. You've got Lucas Giolito, and you've got Lance Lynn. And Lynn and Rodon are near the top of the American League in earned run average this year. So it's incredible what the White Sox are trying out there pitching-wise, and we already know what their defense can be. It's incredible what the White Sox have done. And once they get healthy, guys, I think that they have a legitimate chance to maybe win the American League.
I would agree. And I think that you've got to give – it's not just the White Sox here. You gotta shout out the Cubs here for making some money moves. I mean, Jed Hoyer's not messing around today or for the last couple of days. I know as a Cardinals fan, I'm not going to have fun facing Nick Madrigal for the next however many years. That guy hits everything. Maybe it doesn't end up over the wall, but he's like a gnat. He ends up on first base almost every at bat. That's tough. But as far as the American League goes, if you're heading into a 3-4 game series against the White Sox right now, I mean, how intimidating is that for the hitters? I mean, you've got a solid rotation 1 through 5. The rotation is pretty solid front to back. And then your 6th through 9th inning are just completely locked down with ace relievers. That's tough. That's going to be tough. I don't think anybody obviously has any shot in the AL Central to catch the White Sox. I think that's pretty obvious at this point. They're going to run away with the AL Central, but they could run away with the AL in general with this move. I didn't see any of the other huge AL teams. I mean, the Red Sox, another AL team that obviously could win it all, they haven't made that big money move splash yet. We're waiting. The Yankees kind of stole their thunder there. Somehow the Yankees, I mean, it's crazy. The Yankees know they're winning nothing this year, and still they're like, yeah, we're not letting Boston step in and get Anthony Rizzo, and they come in and grab Rizzo. That's crazy. So I think the White Sox so far at this deadline, they have made the most strides as far as winning the American League goes, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that too. I mean, they're already up 8 games on Cleveland in the AL Central too, and the back of their bullpen, as we've seen in the playoffs, is almost the most important part of a team. You can have a great lineup, but if the back of your bullpen isn't steady, you're not going to win games in late October. So that mixed with Kopka, Hendricks, Bummer, Kimbrel now, those are 4 guys that can get anybody out. So I think they've easily made the most moves for the AL. They're going for it.
Akshay, is there anything you want to add to it?
Yeah. The way that they're bolstering their bullpen right now, it's arguably one of the best in the AL right now. You can make the argument that the Rays have a slightly less than better than the White Sox. But I mean, right now they are heading into they're going to win the AL Central, no doubt about that. So they're going to be heading into these playoffs with arguably the best bullpen in the AL, and that's going to really help them in these playoffs, considering that the Astros and Red Sox don't have those strong bullpens we've seen before. So, adding Kimbrel to this already incredible bullpen and, tag teaming him with Liam Hendricks, it's just going to create so many problems for opposing teams. And I think that if they can use this momentum and kind of, build upon this, which Tony La Russa has already done earlier this season, they have a really good shot of actually making the World Series. I think that right now they could be the favorites to win the AL.
Yeah, I actually agree. I think the White Sox and the Red Sox are probably positioned the best as of right now to go win an American League pennant. And that's an incredibly odd thing to say, right? Like based off of where we've been in the past and just looking at it with the way the White Sox and what they've built here in the last 2-3 years. And Rick Hahn deserves so much credit for the way he's constructed this. His willingness to go get an Eloy Jimenez and give up Jose Quintana a few years ago with the Cubs, going and signing and using a large portion of his international signing pool to go get Luis Robert to play center field. And I know Robert hasn't played this year, but he's one of the most exciting young talents in Major League Baseball. And he's going to man that outfield on the south side of Chicago for a long, long time to come. And it's not just those 2 guys when you think about it. I mean, Tim Anderson has been an anchor to that locker room. And Jose Abreu played through a lot of those, close to 100 loss seasons that the White Sox went through. And the White Sox are in a position to be good, not just now, but to be good for the next couple of years. And I think that's what Rick Hahn's kind of looking at with this roster and with what he has. In giving up Nick Madrigal, it hurts. And it's definitely not something I think that the Cubs or that the White Sox may look back on in, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10 years and be like, man, that was really worth it, because I think Nick Madrigal is going to be a guy who's going to hit it close to 280, 300 for the Cubs for a long time. He's going to play second base for a really long time, or maybe shortstop, whatever it is. But they did the right thing in trading Nick Madrigal, in my opinion, because of their move to get Hernandez yesterday to play second base. Hernandez is a more proven player in the major leagues. He's got a powerful bat. You're going to have him not only for the rest of this year, but you have him for all of next year as well. So even if the White Sox don't go win the World Series, or even if they don't win the American League pennant come October this year, they're going to be set up to do it next year again, because they're going to bring all of these same guys back. They already signed Lance Lynn again for next year. They're probably going to be able to re-sign Carlos Rodon. Eloy Jimenez is on a rookie deal or a small deal. Same with Robert. Tim Anderson is under contract. Jose Abreu is under contract. All of these core guys are still there. And not to mention, Michael Kopech's going to have an opportunity to move into the rotation. I love what the White Sox did, not just for this year, but this is a move and a series of 2 moves that set them up, not just for rentals, in my opinion, but have them set up for the next year, 2, 3 years down the road, which kind of keeps their window going. And to compare them to what the Cubs did in 2015, 2016, and the way that was built, the Cubs built it with a lot of position players, right? The White Sox have a great group of position players, but they also have the young pitching. And that is what's going to make the White Sox window maybe last a little bit longer than what the Cubs did. And that, to me, deserves a lot of credit on Rick Hahn's plate.
Yep, I agree with you there. I think the White Sox have actually built at least a good window for a dynasty here. I know we heard a lot about the Cubs dynasty in 2015, 2016, and I expected it to last a few years longer than it did as well, even as a Cardinal fan and, being a big Cubs hater. Like, I loved a lot of their players. I hope to see that team win for a long time. And now I think that transition to the other side of Chicago here, it really seems like the White Sox are set up for a lot of years of success here. They're very young. They've got La Russa. I was never a La Russa guy when he was in St. Louis, and I'm still not huge on him. Obviously, he's still a very good manager. Just because I don't like him doesn't mean he's bad. But I tend to agree with you there. I think the White Sox are set up for a very long time. Passan just dropped a bomb while we were starting the show here. It looks like the Phillies have finally made their NL East clinching move, or really trying to go for it there. They grabbed Kyle Gibson and Ian Kennedy from the Rangers. I know Spencer Howard is headed down to Texas in that deal. I think that's a great deal for both sides there. Spencer Howard's going to be very good for a long time. I think Texas is going to look back on this move pretty fondly because I think Spencer really takes it for him. And I think Kyle Gibson scares me, guys. I mean, he hasn't been putting up a 2.2 ERA, throughout his entire career here. So I'm interested to see what Gibson can do in Philly. Ian Kennedy, I think he's going to be magical for them. But Kyle Gibson kind of makes me nervous. But shifting over to the National League, as you can see, I'm a former Cardinals fan there. And this is something that Alec and I disagree on, so I've got to bring it up here on air. The Cardinals got worse today by trading John Gant, who was a better starter than J.A. Happ, for J.A. Happ. I know, Alec, you think John Gant is terrible, which he is. J.A. Happ is very bad. He's very bad at the game of baseball, Alec. I don't understand that move for the Cardinals. I don't understand why they would do it at all. To me, I would rather stand pat than make that. I guess I just don't understand the move. It seems kind of pointless. But what do you think? What do you think about this Gant movement, Alec?
I think it makes sense. John Gant wasn't providing the Cardinals anything. They're not making a run at the playoffs. They're not making moves. It's just something to move on from another player in this group of players that isn't providing the Cardinals anything, and I think it's the right decision to move on. I do, however, want to talk about another move that happened today. And in my opinion, it's probably the second biggest move that happened today. Javier Baez and Trevor Williams are going to the New York Mets. And this is a big one, in my opinion, for a couple of reasons. One, Javier Baez is probably going to play shortstop for a little bit, at least until Francisco Lindor gets back healthy from this oblique injury that's got him on the injured list. But two, Javier Baez and Francisco Lindor, we already know those two guys have a lot of chemistry together up the middle of the infield from what we've seen during the World Baseball Classic, playing for Team Puerto Rico. But also, this is big because it keeps the Mets, I think, a little bit ahead of the other teams in the National League East. We've seen the Phillies make moves today. We've seen the Braves still make moves today. And it appears to me, at least, that those other teams in the American League East feel like that the Mets are catchable. And I think these moves kind of show that the Mets are still trying to create a little bit more separation. And if they're able to get healthy with guys like DeGrom, guys like Stroman, guys like Syndergaard, I think the Mets can win this division fairly safely. What do you think, Akshay?
Yeah, obviously this Javi Baez trade is huge for the Mets. And when Lindor is healthy and playing like he's supposed to, that's going to be an incredible duo they have there. But I do have to agree with you. I think that this move is trying to push them ahead of the NL East. Obviously the Phillies are getting Kyle Gibson. So, I mean, they're trying to, catch up to the Mets as well. Nationals not really keeping up into it. They're kind of just doing like fire sale right now. But the Braves also kind of built up their outfield a little bit. They got Adam Duvall, and then they got Eddie Rosario from the Cleveland Indians. So it's really like a three-man race there in the NL East, and it's really just keep adding pieces to see who if you can close the gap, or if you're the Mets, if you can keep that gap and then kind of expand on it a little bit. So I think this is a good trade for the Mets. I think in the long run, it'll help them as well. But for right now, this season, I think that this is the move to help them get the NL East under their control.
Go ahead, Mitch.
Yeah, so I think the Javier Baez move is good just because the chemistry he already has, as you said earlier, with Lindor from Puerto Rico. I mean, their team, they already seem like they got a solid team as it is. Adding Javier Baez, that team just makes them a lot better. They're kind of weak at third base and second with McNeil and Villar. So I feel like if Baez can give him some of that position flexibility, that would work well for them. But also, I mean, Baez isn't having the greatest year. Like, I know he still has a big power bat. He's got 22 home runs. But, like, since last year, he's been having a small dip in his average, a small dip in his batting percentage. His fielding hasn't been the greatest. I mean, I think it's a good deal, but I don't think it's like a make or break, take you over the top kind of deal.
I 100% agree with Mitch here. Javi Baez is the most overrated baseball player in all of the major leagues. I've never seen people love a player so much that's barely average. He is. You can look at the numbers. I mean, he strikes out a lot. His fielding percentage is pretty bad. He's like a guy. I picture in the NBA a guy going 1 for 10. But the one is like an over the head, behind the back, half court shot. That's Javi Baez. He's out there diving all over the place, not ever coming up with any baseballs. But once in a great while, a ball ends up in his glove, and we're like, oh my God, he's the greatest baseball player of all time. He's a great tagger, man. He can tag. If tagging was worth a lot of money, this guy would make millions. He can sure tag runners out at second base, but. I do think this move obviously makes the Mets better, makes them puts them even more in contention for the NL East. I think the Mets win that division. McNeil, who obviously was out for several months to start the year, he's starting to hit the ball again. When he first came back, he was looking pretty rough. He's starting to hit now. If, as Akshay said, if you could get Lindor back being himself, I think this is a huge move for the team. Trevor Williams is going to be great for him. I think Javi's going to be an average to above average infielder for them, because that's what he is. Like, I get very tired of people calling Javi Baez a superstar. He had one really good 5-month stretch, and outside of that, throughout his career, he's been a pretty average baseball player. I love the flashiness. I love watching him play for Puerto Rico, mostly because he gets to all those awesome tags are received from my guy Yadier Molina. Also probably very overrated in his old age. Even a Cardinals fan can admit that. But I do love watching that combination, throw runners out at second for Puerto Rico. But yeah, I do think this move makes the Mets a lot better. And I think the NL East seems to be one of the few divisions where multiple teams are really trying to win that division right now. You got 3 or 4 teams really making moves like, we can still win this thing. Basically everybody other than the Nats, who were like, we're not catching anybody. Juan Soto, you're all alone, buddy. So I do like this move for the Mets, and the NL East is going to be pretty exciting down the stretch, I think.
Yeah, I like this move for the Mets for a couple of reasons. One, and I'm going to go with the Trevor Williams side here. I think adding Trevor Williams gives the Mets, some legitimate stability in their starting rotation, and they needed that with the way Stroman has been pitching as of late, and just not necessarily being fully healthy there with Syndergaard, and obviously DeGrom hasn't pitched in close to a month. So I think just getting some stability with Trevor Williams Jr., you're going to be able to get 5, maybe 6, 7 innings every 5th day from a guy like that. And that's something that their rotation needs. And that's a good move, in my opinion, for the Mets. All right, Mitch, we made you wait long enough.
Yeah.
Blue Jays, you're making moves, man. What was your first reaction to the Blue Jays making the trade for Jose Barrios?
My first reaction as soon as I seen the notification, I was like, let's go, like Barrios. Like, I was like, oh, wait, what did we give up? And when I look back, I mean, it's a good trade, but it's also a bad trade. It's a good trade in the sense that we're pushing our window another year. We're adding another strong arm to, like, right behind Ryu in the starting rotation. I mean, he'll easily be our second pitcher. But also what hurts me a little bit inside is giving up top prospects. Like, Austin Martin was our 5th pick overall last year. He was supposed to be 1st overall, and he slipped. He hit 370 in college. I mean, the kid's a stud. He will be good for a long time, so that hurts. And then Simeon Woods Richardson, who we got back in the Stroman deal. I know he's had a rough year in Double-A, but I mean, he's still somebody who can easily be a top of the rotation type guy come 2 or 3 years. So, I mean, I understand why they did this. The whole thing about our front office with Shapiro and Atkins has been like, they don't want to move the young kids. They don't want to mortgage the future for now, but they just showed today that they're in, and they're all in on this team. And I think Barrios will definitely add a good, solid, top of the rotation type pitcher to our team. And I mean, he's got 126 strikeouts and 20 starts this year. The guy, he's comparable to Stroman, I'd say, in like his pitching style. He likes to live in the bottom of the zone with his sinker. So, I mean, it is what it is. I'll take Barrios all day, especially for the control over next year. But I don't want to see any more prospects go today. I don't think the Jays are done, though.
I don't either. And I agree with what you said there, Mitch. I love Barrios. I was a huge Austin Martin believer, watched a lot of tape on the young man. As you guys know, I'm a big card collector. And, I mean, whenever Austin Martin's first Bowman start dropping, I suddenly had to look up, like, who is this guy? Why is a first Bowman Austin Martin autograph worth $10,000 or whatever? And then I started watching tape on the kid. The kid, he's outstanding. I think he is going to be a very good major league player. That being said, the Jays they had to do something about that rotation. And whether Barrios takes you into the playoffs this year, he's going to be a guy that is at the front of your rotation, hopefully for years to come. Hopefully you can find a way to extend him, and hopefully he's going to be one of the guys at the top of your rotation for many years right next to Ryu. So I actually like this move for the Jays. I think they gave up a bit too much for him, but it is a good move for right now. It's, maybe the Twins just wouldn't accept less for Barrios, and the Jays just really needed to have him. So also update, the Cardinals did get rid of a prospect with John Gant. It was Evan Sisk. So it was 2 guys for J.A. Happ, which is absurdity. But yes, I do think Barrios is going to be a very good pitcher for the Blue Jays for a long time. I agree. I think the Blue Jays are going to, here in the next half hour, you're going to see a couple of more maybe minor moves out of them. Maybe not something where they move. Oh man, that would be monstrous. As you know, Mitch, the Blue Jays outside of the Cardinals have become my favorite young team to watch. These guys are exciting. They keep me glued to the TV every time they come on. So I would love to see KB up there, man. I think that would be huge. I mean, you pair KB with Springer, with Vladdy, with Bo, with Cavan. I mean, that is a hell of an offensive lineup. So I'm rooting for you, man. I hope you guys pull off KB or somebody like that as well. That would just be a monster. But I do like this for the Blue Jays. I think this sets them up for the next couple of years pitching-wise.
I thought the Brad Hand deal was really good too. I mean, we're getting an 8th inning guy now to in the back of our bullpen, in a bullpen that's been struggling all season to finish out close games. I mean, look at his last 4 years. He's had a sub-2 ERA in 2 of those 4 years. He's a legit closer. I know he hasn't been that great with Washington this year, but I think he'll add a huge boost to that bullpen.
I agree. I think putting him on a team that's young, that's exciting, that really gets him jazzed to be playing for him, I think that's huge for Hand. When he was in San Diego, he was kind of, you want to get that version of him back, and I think the Blue Jays might see that version, so that'd be great.
Yeah, I have to agree with you guys here. I actually think both teams win this trade tremendously. Barrios obviously is a strong arm. He's definitely going to help the Blue Jays with their rotation. Just give Ryu some support there, and also just give more stability, because the rotation, the bullpen hasn't been all that great this year. But I mean, Barrios can definitely add stability to that rotation as well. But on the other side, I think the Twins also win here, getting Austin Martin. My friend actually plays baseball at Vanderbilt, so I'm like a pseudo Vanderbilt baseball fan myself. And watching Austin Martin, he's a great player. Obviously, it's hard to tell with prospects in the major leagues, because it's just there's so many of them, and you never really know how they pan out. But I think he's going to be a great player, like you guys said. So I think that the Twins, obviously they lose an arm in Barrios, but I think they get a young great player in Austin Martin. I think that's going to help them in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, guys, I agree a lot, and I think that what the Blue Jays did here, it's just so tough to be the Blue Jays in that division. And no disrespect to you, Mitch, or any other Blue Jays fans, but it's just hard to compete in that division with the Yankees and the Red Sox. So we've seen that the Rays are just able to kind of put all these puzzle pieces together and just win every single year. And, it's tough to be the Blue Jays, and it's tough to be the Orioles, particularly in that division. But they've got the good young core, and that core with Bichette, with Biggio, and of course you've got Vlad Jr. That's a core that can be together for a long time, and that's a core that could potentially win a lot of games. And I think that we've seen the Blue Jays are willing to go spend money. They're willing to spend money on a guy like Barrios, I think, when he becomes a free agent, and I think that's a good thing.
Time out. We got a Passan bomb, folks.
Uh-oh.
Chris Bryant has found a home on the West Coast The San Francisco Giants just landed Bryant, man.
Ooh,
Wow.
Let's talk about that then.
wow.
That is
I felt like this move was coming today. I felt like that the
Wow.
Giants or the Padres were going to have to do something, and this move made a lot of sense for both of these teams for a couple of reasons because, the Cubs are trying to sell, clearly, but on top of that, the Giants had to make the move to stay with or stay above the Dodgers in the American League West or in the National League West. And this move does them a lot of good. They needed help at third base, need help at first base. He can play both corner outfield positions. He can also play center field. I don't know if I'd want him playing center field or right field in that ballpark and that outfield just because how difficult it is and how big that outfield plays. But you can put Chris Bryant in left field, and I think you're going to be just fine if you're the Giants. That's a really good move for San Francisco.
I 100% agree. That is an absolute monster. I'm jealous. I'm jealous of the Giants. As a Cardinal fan, I've always wanted KB on my team. I know I'm supposed to hate him, but I love that man. He's always been one of my favorite non-Cardinals to watch play the game. He just plays the game the right way, and he's just a nice, down-to-earth guy. So I think KB tears it up in San Fran. I think that's a team that has a great shot at getting a huge extension for KB. I mean, I think he's going to end up loving it there. So that's a great place to play. Also, while we were on here, the Yankees have made another little splash. I know Akshay's an Angels fan.
Yeah.
Goodbye to Andrew Haney. He's ending up in New York, it looks like. So Haney to New York and KB to San Fran in the last 10 minutes. So some huge splashes being made around the league. This trade deadline is insane, guys. This is a lot of fun to watch. I've just been sitting here while we're on updating Passan and Rosenthal's feed and almost passed out when I saw that KB one pop up. But this is great for the Giants. I think, in my opinion, just because the Dodgers haven't quite played up to par, you've got Mookie and Belly aren't quite playing the way you're used to seeing Mookie and Belly play. Mookie's taken off lately, though, so look out for that. But I actually think this move, in my opinion, this move might make the Giants favorites to win the NL West. I just keep expecting them to fall off, and they just keep not falling off. And now you've added yourself another legit middle of the lineup bat, a guy with power, and as Alex said, a guy that can play all over the field. So I think this move might make them favorites out in the NL West. Man, this is big.
Mitch, anything you want to add?
I mean, not really, other than the fact that it looks like the Giants are going for it now. At the beginning of the day, I was thinking, I was wondering, I mean, look what the Dodgers did yesterday. Why haven't the Giants made a move? Why haven't the Padres made a move? And there you go. Giants just made a massive move. Where does that leave Evan Longoria now, though? I guess he's a pinch hit candidate. Like,
not necessarily.
Yeah,
they can play Brian at first base. They can play him in all three outfield positions. So
yeah, they got some flexibility.
That's what makes Chris Bryant so valuable, in my opinion, and that's why, if you're the Giants, you had to go make this move for a couple of reasons. Obviously, you can play multiple positions, and we've talked about that. But also, you've got this group of guys, Brandon Belt, Brandon Crawford, Buster Posey. You've got these three guys who were big parts of you winning a couple World Series in the early part of the 2010s. And, of course, that was a pretty magical run for the Giants. And you've somehow managed to get, like, magical renaissance seasons out of Posey and Crawford in particular this year. And you almost feel like you owe them one more chance. And you're winning that division. You've been winning that division all year. And there's no reason that the Giants should be winning that division. Absolutely none. No. When you look at the way that roster is built and when you compare it to the Dodgers and you compare it to the Padres, there's no reason the Giants should be ahead in that division. But they are. And I feel like going back to, May, June, I feel like we were all kind of waiting for the Giants to slow down, and they haven't done it, and they're clearly not going to. So now you have to go all in when you're in first place at this point, and trading for Chris Bryant and a contract year when the Cubs are probably going to be paying some of his money to get better prospects back. That's something that we've seen a lot of teams do in these last couple of days. It makes a lot of sense for the Giants to go do this. And does it get them over the hump? Does it make them the favorite in the National League West and the National League as a whole? I don't know. I still think I would give a nod to the Dodgers, and we can talk about them here shortly. But this is a great move for the San Francisco Giants, and it's a move I think that they had to make.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you look at it from the NL West, I think the Padres are in big trouble right now. Obviously, they haven't made all those great moves. Sure, they got Daniel Hudson from the Nationals, but I mean, like, if you're looking at it, you're in third place right now. The Dodgers are making big moves. The Giants just made a big move. I think, you need to make something happen right now. Otherwise, you really have like no chance of winning the division, at least. Unless you're playing it in the long run, I don't see the Padres making any big splashes going forward into the postseason here. I think right now the NL is between the Giants and Dodgers right now. I think those are the two best teams, and this trade deadline has really solidified it in my opinion. Those two teams are going to be competing for the pennant coming in October.
It's completely insane to me that a team that's as talented as San Diego is going to end up grabbing a wild card spot in the NL. Like, wow, that's just I mean, the NL West is just completely loaded. And the Padres are somehow, sitting back in third place in that division. So, yeah, I do. I think this is just huge for the Giants. It's huge for the Padres, who, as Alex said, they missed their top, or as Akshay said, they missed their top targets, and they're watching the guys that are just ahead of them grab every top target that they had on their list somehow. So, I'm very curious to see what the Cubs got back in the KB deal. I will say this as a fan of a team that is in the division with the Cubs, I do believe that I'm already terrified of the 2026 Cubs. As many players as they unloaded today, they're going to be stacked in a few years, or they should be. Curious to see if a guy like Joey Bart or something like that was in the KB deal. I haven't seen anything on the return yet. So, but man, this deadline is just kind of head explode craziness. It's been so much fun. I want another one in like a week just so we can sit through all this again. This has been a blast. It's like the NBA playoffs. It's like the MLB playoffs. It's like the Super Bowl. It's a lot of fun to stay tuned to this stuff, man.
I do want to go ahead, Mitch.
I was going to say, it kind of feels like the roles have been reversed here a bit too. For the last 2 years, it's been the Padres making the splashes. I mean, they got Darvish, Blake Snell, Will Myers, Manny Machado. I mean, they were the ones that we were all last year. We were like, oh my God, like look what the Padres did at the deadline. They're for real. This year, they've kind of taken a back seat and let the other teams do the same thing. But at the end of the day, how many years can they consistently go after guys at the deadline after deadline? Right. Eventually, you have to stop and look at what you have in your organization and just stay chill and rebuild and build up that prospect pool for years to come.
Yep.
Guys, I do want to add this about the Padres. They did make a couple of moves today. They went and got Daniel Hudson from the Nats.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Relief pitcher. That'll help. And he can probably start a little bit too as well. And my guess is they probably put him in the starting rotation because they need help there. But they also went and got Jake Marisnick. So that's another Cub that's on the move. And that one's according to Jeff Pass, and that was about 7 to 10 minutes ago. So the Padres did go make moves. They just aren't the moves that I think the Padres probably need to make. And if I'm a Padres fan, like, I feel upset because yesterday at this time, right, it was they're getting Max Scherzer. And they're going to be the ones that everyone's kind of picking. And then things kind of just slowly, like, stopped moving on that front. And then all of a sudden, it's the Dodgers that are getting Max Scherzer. And not only are they getting Max Scherzer, they're getting Trey Turner as well. Guys, this is one of the biggest blockbuster trades I can remember at the trade deadline, maybe in my entire life. I mean, like, the Dodgers just got a front-of-the-line potential Game 1 starter in the playoffs, and they got a shortstop who's going to likely be their starting shortstop next year. Because I think this move kind of signals that Corey Seager's probably not going to re-sign in LA. And if he does come back healthy, well, guess who you're going to have coming off your bench? You're going to have Gavin Lux, a former number one prospect in the entire sport, coming off your bench, along with Albert Pujols coming off your bench. And he's been hitting really well out there. And this move makes the Dodgers, in my opinion, and in my opinion, they already were. I was starting to fade on it a little bit, but they're the undisputed favorite to win the World Series. Like, there are 4 guys that they're going to be able to try it out there in a playoff series. Includes Max Scherzer, Clayton Kershaw, Walker Buehler, Julio Urias. And if things just so happen to happen this way, and I don't think they will, Trevor Bauer's a 5th guy.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
I doubt he plays again, but holy cow, if he does. You do not want to face that rotation.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to play again this year. Yeah. And there's been reports that Dodgers players don't really want him to play again with them this year. But if he somehow is able to get back with the Dodgers, they are incredible. Like,
Huge.
and their bullpen is insane. And Kenley Jansen's going to figure it out. And that lineup is, guys, like, that's like Murderer's Row, like 1927 Yankees looking lineup. Like, I just can't understand how the Dodgers were able to construct this.
Yeah,
and we hit on it earlier. Mookie Betts is getting hot. Sooner or later, Cody Bellinger is going to start hitting. Sooner or later, he's going to. Will Smith is one of the more underrated players in baseball behind the plate. And that team and that construction of that roster is incredible, and there's no reason they shouldn't have an opportunity to repeat for the World Series.
I mean, the Dodgers were able to move. Will Smith is so good that the Dodgers were able to move Keibert Ruiz, who I think is going to be a star behind the plate someday, a guy that can also play first base a little bit as well. And I believe I heard maybe the outfield. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But either way, I think Keibert's going to be a monster player. And I think he's going to be a huge pickup for the Nats. But Will has been so good behind the plate that they're able to move one of their top prospects. And like you said, I mean, that's a monster. I mean, that rotation is completely absurd. It's just completely absurd. It makes it less scary, I think, for the Giants who, go grab a Chris Bryant and have the lineup that they have. So, I'm not saying the Giants are afraid to face that rotation, but what a battle that is, the Padres or the Giants in a 7-game series against the Dodgers. Wow. I mean, that's fireworks. That's something I can't wait to see come playoff time. So I think with the moves the NL West have made this deadline, wow. I mean, it makes me kind of want to be an NL West fan. Like, I mean, this is going to be a lot of fun coming down the stretch. I will add that I think the biggest loser of this trade deadline is Trevor Story. Just kick the Rockies out of the league. I feel really bad for Trevor Story. He knows that team's going nowhere. He's stuck at shortstop there for another 6 months. I think that's unfortunate. I think it's unfortunate that the Rockies didn't get a deal done to move him. I think it would have set up their future. I mean, they have to think about their future as well here. I mean, they have to think, we've got to move. I probably would have moved Marquez and Story maybe in a package to somebody. So, I mean, I don't understand what the Rockies are doing in this league, really. So I think that's a big loss for the Rockies and for Trevor Story. I really feel bad for him. I hope that mentally he's able to really stay up, and keep the great play going. So, I'm not saying that a trade deadline can ruin someone's career or anything mentally, but I really hope Trevor Story continues to rake, continues to play great D, and I really hope he finds himself on a contender next year because I really feel bad for the guy.
Yeah, some of my losers are the Rockies as well, just because they had to get rid of John Gray and Trevor Story. It was time. Those two guys had to move on. And I know Trevor Story's having a really bad year, but I'm sure he could have still helped a team like the A's shore up their whole lineup. I mean, he's still a good hitter at the end of the day. I know he's having a bad year. But also, I mean, are the A's the losers here too? I know that they got Yan Gomes and Josh Harrison, but they're a team that's so good that all they needed was that one extra piece to push them over the hump, I think. So I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on that.
The A's got somebody like 4 days ago. Who did they get before Gomes?
Starling Marte. I think the A's are actually winners.
Yeah,
I think they're winners of this deadline.
I think the A's actually did get better. Yeah. When
you look at what the A's are handcuffed with every single year at the deadline, just because they aren't able to spend money, the moves to get Starling Marte and the moves that they made today, I actually think they're winners. And the A's are in a position, too, where they don't necessarily need to compete to go win the division, because I still think we all agree that the Astros are probably the favorites there. Yeah. However, I would like to say that I think the A's have a really good chance to make a wild card spot. And I think that those two wild card spots in the American League are going to come down to the Tampa Bay Rays, New York Yankees, and the Oakland A's. And maybe Mitch, just maybe the Blue Jays are able to sneak in there. Maybe we'll sneak in there.
Yeah,
I think they've got a chance to. They're right there with the Yankees. The Yankees obviously made another move to go get Haney here at the deadline, adding some depth to that rotation. I think that American League wildcard race could be a blast. And I was on a show last night with Tanner Kern, who is obviously great, one of the better baseball people we have here at the Sports 2.0 Network. And we kind of looked ahead at the Yankees schedule, and we kind of looked at it and said, they've got, I think, the Twins, the Royals, the Marlins, all coming up, and then they go into a series with the White Sox. If the Yankees do really well and they go, 8-2 or 7-3 in that kind of stretch, it's that they're gonna have some momentum. And I already know what Eric's down there freaking out about. I'm kind of for what he's freaking out about because it adds insult to injury at this point if they're the Cubs. So I kind of like it.
Man, I can't even say it out loud on the air, Alec.
I kind of like
Lester,
it.
St. Louis Cardinals.
Whatever.
John, I actually like John Lester. I've always, everybody always thinks that Cardinals fans just like hate the Cubs or whatever. I don't really hate anybody. I love the rivalry. I've always thought it was a lot of fun. I have a lot of Cubs fans, friends, Alec Unitas being from Central Illinois or living around here. It's, we're right on the line where all the Cardinals and Cubs split. I think this will make the rest of my summer very interesting with all my friends that are Cubs fans. But yeah, John Lester is a St. Louis Cardinal. That's weird to say. We needed it. I will say that I prefer that to J.A. Happ. I think Lester makes the rotation a tad bit better. We needed a fifth starter. We needed somebody who doesn't consistently walk everyone. But that's an interesting deadline move right there. Lester heading this direction. So, but yeah, I was just scrolling Twitter to see if there were any last minute moves, and I thought that was a joke, and then I realized it was from Jesse Rogers from ESPN, and that it wasn't a joke. But I do agree with Alec in the AL wild card race. I think it's going to be really fun, and I'm rooting for this guy right over here. I'm rooting for this guy to have a really happy wild card race. I would love to see the Blue Jays sneak in there because that's a scary team, man. That's a team you don't want to face if they do win the wild card. That's a team, you don't want to pitch to Vladdy. You don't want to pitch to Bo. You don't want to play that team. So I think that could be a really fun team come the playoff time if they sneak in there in the wild card. But yes, once again, John Lester's the St. Louis Cardinals. This is weird. The Cardinals actually also just after they acquired Lester, the Cardinals just signed a contract with AARP for advertising now that we are all 63 years old, the whole team. So that's great. That's fantastic. It's weird. Lester and Waino, I believe, hold most of Major League's records as far as active players go for a lot of the pitching records for like most innings and things like that, because him and Waino have been around forever. So I don't hate it for the Cardinals, but yeah.
All right, I want to talk about the winners of the deadline before we get out of here, and we're no more Cardinals talk because they're irrelevant. All right, I want you guys to each give your top two winners of the MLB trade deadline. We can go immediate and we can go long-term winners. All right, I'm gonna go first. I'm gonna say that immediate winners include the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Chicago White Sox. I like what both of those teams did. I think it's great on both perspectives for them and their World Series hopes, not just this year, but in the 2 years following this year. Of course, the Dodgers had to give up a lot, but I do like what they ended up doing.
Yep. Go ahead, Akshay. I'll let you go next.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Dodgers as well, and I'm also gonna go with the Giants for immediate, and then for long term, I'm gonna go with the White Sox. I think obviously the White Sox are immediate as well. They're on the fringe for me in immediate and long term, but I think long term they have a huge boost in this trade deadline compared to the Dodgers into the Giants.
Now we go to Mitch, who's about to head out to a Blue Jays game. Who are the winners here, buddy?
Yeah, first of all, it's the first Blue Jays game back in Toronto in 670 days, so I'm hyped for that. But I'd have to go Yankees because those two left-handed power bats are going to shore up that lineup, especially in the Bronx. And then I'd have to go White Sox. I mean, that back end of that bullpen's the best in the league, and they're going to make a run. So those are my two winners.
I'm gonna give one obvious one and then one weird one. I'm gonna go winners here are completely the city of Chicago. Buyers wise, the White Sox, I think they killed this deadline. And the other winner, the Chicago Cubs. They are showing people how to sell. If you're a seller, this is how you do it. This is how you transform a franchise. This is how you gain some prospects and set up your future. You hear a lot of, we're sellers, and then they get rid of one or two guys. Not the Cubs. They basically left Wilson Contreras sitting behind the plate by himself. So I'm going to go with the city of Chicago. Huge winners up there. I think the Cubs are going to be very good in a few years, and I think the White Sox are going to be good right now. So good job, Chicago.
All right, guys, I think that's all the time we've got. Make sure to subscribe to the Sports 2.0 Network for all of our viewers out there. We appreciate you sticking around and watching. Obviously, a crazy day for the MLB trade deadline. Hopefully, your team did exactly what you wanted them to do. Make sure to give us all a follow. And I don't think anyone's happier on the show than Mitch. So, Mitch, you're one of my winners as well.
Thanks, man. You're my winner.
Let's go.
See you guys. Thank you for joining us.